G'day guys, and welcome back to another video. We are going to be showcasing a brand new build, this time in Path of Exile 1. I'm going to be showing you the budget Bladestorm bleed block build. This bad boy will be able to do all maps and can be gotten very cheaply, most likely under 100 chaos. Actually quite easily under 100 chaos. I will be showcasing the passive tree, the skills, and the gear that you will need to do this build. And before we get started, thank you very much for clicking on the video. If this is helpful to you, please leave a like and subscribe. Let's jump over to the passive tree. I'm going to go through this as if we are leveling, so you can start this as a fresh character or just copy it as a end game character. It is up to you. We are starting on the right side of the dualist tree, going down, grabbing the attack speed nodes, the evasion nodes, moving on down to art of the gladiator. From here we move over to bravery and a master of the arena. This will give us a decent amount of survivability and damage early on. Now, oh, that's Jack the Axe talking in the background there. We'll cover him soon. At this point, I would suggest taking these nodes, going down here and grabbing life and mana leech. That will save you having much issues with your mana as you are leveling through the campaign. You can always refund these points later. They're just 4 points, nothing major. We do go ahead and get a ring later on to replace this node. Continuing on, we grab Defiance to increase our block chance and attack damage, including the defenses from our equipped shield. This makes us very tanky, very easy to continue through the campaign. From here, I recommend going down through Golem's Blood, continuing on all the way across, ignoring these nodes for now, and grabbing Hatchet Master. The reason we grab this early on is because of the 20% chance to gain onslaught for 4 seconds on kill. This is amazing for leveling. It will increase our speed, clearing, and allow us to get through the campaign very quickly. Then we go ahead and grab Savage Skewering, Dirty Techniques, Adamant, and the increased armor from equipped boots and gloves. From there, we go ahead and grab Testudo to increase our block chance, as well as Versatile Combatant to allow us to get more block spell damage. From here, we want to go down and grab the skewering nodes. Now, Impale isn't a massive part of this build, but we do utilize it because we utilize the additional skills we get from completing the circles. For example, this one here, impale damage dealt to enemies impaled by you ignore enemy physical damage reduction. This is good. This is good stuff. Grab that. Once you've gotten that, go ahead and grab Bloodletting. Moving on down to grabbing the Brinkmanship. From there, we move on down and grab Bastion Breaker to increase our attack damage, and of course ignoring the physical damage reduction there. This one here is another reason why we use Impale. 6% to damage over time multiplier for bleeding per impale on enemies. So essentially, Impale is going to be a utilization to increase the damage of our bleeds. Moving on up here, we are going to grab the first 3 nodes of Master of Wounds. We don't grab the second nodes until later. There's kind of just an additional points there. Then we want to grab Bloodless, Life Mastery to skills cost a life instead of 50% of mana cost. And then we want to grab the Axe Masteries with Harvester and 40% increased effect of onslaught. From this point, you're going to be noticing a very large increase to our damage output. You're going to be clearing things a lot faster. But we do want to come back over here and grab Mana Flow, because we want to be able to use our skills constantly without having much issues. Yes, we do have leech, which we would have grabbed from the life of mana leech node here, but we do want some regeneration because we want to be using our leap slam to move around the maps quickly as well. So we go ahead and grab the mana flows. Next, we want to grab as the mountain to increase our block chance and the block mastery of plus 2% to maximum chance to block attack damage. Now, because we've taken this node here, our maximum block chance has been decreased. This gives us an additional 2%, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it's additional 2% could mean the block hits or it doesn't hit. Moving on to aggressive bastion, we grab this for, again, more increased physical damage while holding a shield and increased block. Over here is the final area where we grab some mana. We want to grab the reduced mana cost of skills and, of course, cannibalistic right, which reduces mana cost of attacks by 15% and makes us spend some of our life to use our abilities. This is great because we want to be able to cast out attacks constantly. Moving up to the axe circle, we want to grab cleaving, which allows us to intimidate for seconds, which is great, and another additional increase to our damage. And down here we want to grab slaughter for the increased damage as well as the additional 1 rage on hit with axes. Now, we do use rage with our main attack of Bladestorm, but the additional 1 rage allows us to get to the max rage a lot faster. For the extra mastery, we want bleeding. You inflict deals damage 15% faster. The faster it deals damage, the faster things dies, and the better it is for us. Over here, we grab the corrupted blood cannot be inflicted to you from this socket. It doesn't really matter what else we roll. We would obviously, this is a budget build, so just grab whatever cheap jewel you can get, as long as it has the corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. We want to be immune. Up here we have resolute technique. Now, at this point in the game, we're high level. You're gonna be noticing that you don't have 100% hit rate. Make sure you get this. This will prevent us missing. You can get this a lot earlier if you want. If you're finding yourself struggling to hit enemies, if the accuracy just isn't enough, you don't have any accuracy on your gear that you managed to pick up, get this whenever you need it. And finishing off, we just, of course, grab Barbarism for the extra HP and Savage Wounds to increase our bleed damage faster once more. That is pretty much it for the basic tree. Over on the Ascendency, you want to grab the Determined Survivor first, and then More Than Skill second. These are our main survivability. Block is our main survivability. This is how we can smash through high-level content without worrying about investing so much into gear. Once you have these, move on to Gratuitous Violence to add an additional source of kill explosion, dealing 20% of the maximum life as physical damage. Now, with our items, we will already have access to explosion. We'll cover that in just one moment. But this will give us an additional source of explosion, a little bit more damage. Then, of course, move on to Bleeding Inflict is aggravated. This is a pretty massive boost to our damage. Now, on this note, you can opt to put a point into Crimson Dance until you get Jagged Technique. It may increase your overall DPS, but once you have the Jagged Technique, obviously it's completely useless using Crimson Dance. Moving over to the gear, we have our main weapon, Jack the Axe. This axe, apart from it being designed by me, awesome axe. I designed it. Of course, it's going to be awesome. It gives us the Thirst for Blood skill. Now let's go over the first Thirst for Blood skill. Where is it? Reserve some of your life to cause bleeding you inflict to be stronger and grant life regeneration based on the number of bleeding enemies nearby. This is another reason why we can survive in very high tier maps with what is essentially very crap gear. Applies beams to the closest 5 nearby bleeding enemies. Regenerate 400 life per second for each affected enemy. That is a lot of life regeneration that we are constantly having. Absolutely insane, all just for the cost of 10% of our life. An incredible skill, which was actually not my idea. When I was working on the redesign of the axe, we're trying to figure out how to make the axe take away from the wielder for its, well, thirst for blood. So the developers that I was working with came up with the idea of just having it as a kind of a reservation skill. Initially it was, what was it? I believe there was some kind of negative. I can't remember, honestly. But Thirst for Blood, absolutely incredible skill. Unique to the axe and the reason why we can do high level content with shitty gear. Now, let's go over the gear. Of course, we have Jack the Axe. It is our main source of damage. We increase, it increases the damage from bleeding, obviously. It has fairly decent physical damage in itself. Good axe. Cheap axe, probably like 1-2 chaos. Very cheap, very easy to acquire. Over on the rings. For the rings, let's just talk about all the gear. So anything that is not unique, you want to prioritize resistances, elemental resistances, chaos resistance, and life. We want to make sure that all of our non-unique gear can get us resistance capped in elemental and chaos resistance with some increased life to make us survive a little bit better. So going forward, everything is that priority. So generic rare helmet with those priorities in mind. We have a chaos ring with those priorities in mind. One of the rings I would highly suggest, if you cannot get a 0.4 of physical attack leech as mana, which is the highest roll you can get with that mana leech, try and get the lower rolls and have them over 2 of the rings. But we want to have a total of 0.4% of physical attack damage leech as mana on our rings. That is the only alteration for the rings apart from the generic standard priorities. For our amulet, now ignore the anointment. This is something that came with the ring. Now, because this is a budget, I have not included an anointment, but I would highly suggest just going anything that increases your life. So feel free to aim for, let's say, this bad boy up here. Combat stamina. Oh, no, actually, yeah, combat stamina would be really great. That is not what I was looking for. This one right here. Feel free to aim for something like that to increase your life overall for an anointment if you can afford it. I have not included an anointment in this build because it is not within the budget that I have set for ourselves. Over on the chest piece, again, generic. 6 links are incredibly cheap this league because of the tree mechanics. So just grab yourself a 6 link with some decent resistances and life. On the boots, the only odd difference from the usual priority is, of course, we need movement speed. So go ahead and grab that. On the belt, same thing, resistances and life. Same thing with the jewel. Over on the shield, you better believe it, it is exactly the same thing. Resistances, chaos resistances, life. This is just a skin. I love the Chernobog's pillar skin, so I just apply that onto the shield there. Now, hemophilia gloves. You can get these pretty early. I cannot remember what the level is. Let me just quickly get rid of these. Level 43. Okay, you can get these pretty easy. They're usually going for like 10 chaos, I believe. They might be a lot cheaper now. But these bad boys are what you want to keep. Even when you get jagged technique, you want to keep these gloves because we increase attack damage against bleeding enemies, we increase damage over time damage, and we increase the chance of bleeding. So we always have the good amount of bleed chance, and it increases the damage of bleed. So even if we aren't taking into account that bleeding enemies will kill explode for 5% of their damage because we are using the Ascendency, it is still an absolutely incredible unique. Okay, so we have covered pretty much everything of the gear so far. For flasks, you want to get a flask that is instant recovery when on low life, of course. We want the oh shit button. Try to get one that grants immunity to bleeding, just to get rid of bleeding if you happen to get it on you. Over here we have another life flask. This is completely optional. You can have something else here. I like to run with 2 life flasks just because I'll pop the second life flask to have constant increase of life regeneration while I'm fighting through mobs. And then if I get like really hit, I'll pop the first life flask as the oh shit button. Rummy's Concoction. Now this one is, you can just use a normal granite flask. While you are leveling, this is great because it will give you increased block chance for spell and attack. Once you've gotten all the passives for block, it doesn't really get that much benefits anymore. So you can just use a normal granite flask with something else rolled on it. But while leveling, this is the best item, and it's incredibly cheap. And then we got the Overflowing Chalice. This is a 40% increased damage, which is amazing, but it also gets us Concentrated Ground, which of course increases our life regeneration as well, increasing our survivability, increasing our damage. It is a no-brainer. And we have a Quicksilver Flask because gotta go fast. On to the skill gems. We are going to have a cast when damage taken support setup linked to Molten Shell with Veil Molten Shell. We want to have Veil Molten Shell version because we want to pop Veil Molten Shell when we're fighting bosses, or if things start to get a little bit hairy. It is a really good survival skill, and it's relatively cheap as well. Pretty much everything you're seeing here will be relatively cheap. You'll be able to get it for much cheaper than 100 chaos, maybe closer to 70 chaos if you're lucky. It really depends on what gear you aim for. And we also have that linked to Blood Rage. Blood Rage, of course, allows us to add life leech to our attacks, and it's gives us frenzy charges. This is our way of getting frenzy charges, more frenzy charges, more attack speed, more DPS. You get it. We also have a Berserk here. Now I pop the Berserk every time I am fighting a boss. Usually I'll have max rage by the time I get to the map boss. I'll pop Berserk, I'll pop my Curse, and then I'll pop the Veil Molten Shell, and we'll just stand in one spot and melt the boss. Easy stuff. We also have, obviously, the Vulnerability Curse, which we already covered. This increases the physical damage enemies take. Again, an absolutely no-brainer, very cheap way to increase our outgoing damage. Over here we have our travel skill. We have Leap Slam, linked with faster attacks and Fortify. This bad boy I go into... Ooh, thank you kindly. This bad boy I jump around the map all over the place, jumping into groups of enemies to proc Fortify. This allows me to, well, it implies Fortify. And Fortify is just generally good. It's good to have. So I try to jump into packs of mobs constantly, and then I'll spin with the Bladestorm to mostly just instantly delete the packs. Very cool stuff. Over here on the Bladestorm of Uncertainty, you can get this one also relatively cheap. If you don't want to get the Bladestorm of Uncertainty, a normal Bladestorm will work just fine. And we have that linked to rage support. I did cover this earlier. Getting 3 rage on hit, so that is total 4 rage per hit with that passive node. But we also get the supported skills have a 19% increase attack speed, while you have at least 10 rage. Plus more attack speed, more DPS. I have this linked to faster attack support, obviously, more attack speed, more DPS, but you can opt to put a maim support gem here if you want a little bit more damage output, more brute damage output rather than DPS, but I've chosen to go with faster attacks. No brainer here, melee physical support. Of course, every physical build needs this bad boy, as well as brutality. We are not doing elemental damage, we're not doing chaos damage, we're doing physical damage, grab, brutality. And because this is an area attack, we are going with Pulverize. Very cool ability. Usually you'll see that on Cyclone, but it works really, really well with Bladestorm as well. I think we've covered all the skill gems here. No, we have the auras. I have Blood and Sand, obviously increasing the area damage. We have Flesh and Stone, which increases the physical damage. And we have Pride, of course. It is a physical build. We need to have Pride. That is it for the skills. It's a very, very cheap to set up, very quick to set up. Let's have a look at the league specific items now. Now, these are the best items that I have found for the specific build. We'll cover the Violent Desire skill first. Obviously, getting ones with increased global physical damage or increased Impale is really what you want, but both of these are perfect for me. Violent Desire. While you have Rage, which we have all the time, this graft will periodically apply a buff to you, which grants you a chance to inflict Impale an additional Impale. To inflict an additional Impale and increase effect of Impales you inflict. This is incredibly amazing because the more Impales, the more bleed damage we are doing. I think you recall the skill we have down here. 6% to damage over time multiplier for bleeding per Impale on enemies. So more Impales, more damage over time multiplier. Great stuff. Also increases our global physical damage. We have next Return to Dust. This is the slap attack, the slam attack. Basically, a bunch of hands come out of the ground and just slap the shit out of the enemies. It's great. It's hilarious. It also does an incredibly large amount of damage. Let's read. This graft will periodically target rare or unique enemies in range, pulling forth massive hands which slam down, dealing high damage and stunning. Absolutely incredibly large amounts of damage. This is what we use to help deal with single targets when we're fighting bosses or other rares. If you get in range of a rare, even if it's just on the screen, you don't even need to be anywhere near it. As long as it's on the screen, those hands will come up out of nowhere and just bash the shit out of an enemy. Now, this thing has absolutely deleted rares before I could even get to them. It's amazing. and it's even better with bossing with the uniques, because essentially what we do is we just stand there and we spin and we spin and we spin, and that will slowly tick over and grab even more bleeds. Well, it'll just keep doing damage, and the bleed will be aggravated, of course, and it will slowly chip away at bosses. And every now and then these hams will come down and smash the bosses with very large amounts of damage, so we can chunk them down a lot faster, again allowing us to get away with having relatively shit gear. Lastly, Pantheons. Let's go over that real quickly. Now, we want to be immune to frozen, obviously. We don't want to get frozen. Frozen sucks. Getting frozen sucks. Also, getting chilled sucks. But the other thing we like is not getting stunned. So we choose a Soul of the Brine King to prevent us from getting stunned. We increase stun and block recovery, which is amazing because obviously we're blocking all the time. Chance to avoid, 100% chance to avoid being frozen. Amazing. Don't like freeze. And 50% reduced effect of chill on you. In my opinion, this is the best major god for this build. Moving on down to here, we have Soul of Tukahama. 3% additional physical damage reduction per second. You've been stationary for a maximum of 9. So in 3 seconds, we get back. We get up to 9% additional physical damage reduction, which is amazing because all we do is stand still and spin. Every now and then we'll chuck in a leap slam to either run away or reapply our fortify effect, but mostly we're standing still. And we also get 2% of life regeneration per second while stationary. Good stuff. That's pretty much it. That is the build. I will do a little showcase again at the end of this build, so stick around for a quick map run. But until next time, wait, something very important. Link in the description to the build guide. I am going to be writing up a full written detailed guide on this, so if you want to refer to a written guide rather than referring back to the video over and over again, you can do so. That'll be in the description field, that'll be in the pinned comment, and I will be writing this right after I finish recording this. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.